Good morning, everybody. My name's Stephen. I'm here from the VT group of companies, and that is Vertitech, Qualistat, which is a building envelope consulting company, and Acacia Engineering, which does mechanical engineering. We had a home here. We often use this house as one of our show homes to talk about different technologies. And today I want to talk to you about furnaces. That's the heating system. So in the government programs currently, the Greener Home program, yes, it is correct. There are no grants for doing furnaces. That does not mean that's not the right technology for certain areas. So if, for example, in Alberta and Saskatchewan, furnaces are one of the better ways to go from an energy efficiency point of view. We can talk later about heat pumps. We have some other videos that we've done on heat pumps and more that we will be adding. So in Alberta, natural gas is relatively inexpensive compared to natural gas. At the current rates today, and we right now at the beginning of, or end of January 2022, the rate on natural gas is about $6.50 a gigajoule, and the rate of electricity is somewhere in 15 to 18 cents a kilowatt hour. That's the rate of everything in. Those are all your taxes, the delivery charges, variable fees, all of those different things. So it's about a $45 per gigajoule for electricity, and it's about $6.50 a gigajoule for natural gas. So somewhere in the region of a 6.5 to 1 ratio. So it's a big ratio difference. The other ones, we can get furnaces now that run somewhere in that 98% efficiency range. So we can burn gas very efficiently. So one thing I do recommend to people all the time, if you have a furnace that's somewhere in the region of around 20 years old, yes, there are no government grants. I fully understand there are no current government grants, and I'm not sure if there ever will be, but there's no grants currently for furnace replacements. Does not mean it's not one of the better things for you to do in your home, particularly in Alberta and Saskatchewan. So if you're going to upgrade your furnace, that's what we need to think about. How we're going to upgrade our furnaces, what furnaces should we upgrade to, and let's talk a bit about furnace selection. So let's go and have a look at this furnace that's installed here, and then we'll talk about furnace selection. Well, here we are, we're down in the mechanical room. I said we'd look at the furnace from the other side. So just a couple of things that point out. This is a high efficiency condensing furnace. How do I know that? If you look at the venting, the white venting, that is what we call CPVC. That is goes directly to the outside. And then the other one is the fresh air intake. So this is what we saw in one of the other videos. This is the fresh air intake of air coming in from outside. Okay, so air goes in, you can actually hear the furnace firing up there. There's been a bit of a heat core. So in this case here, we've got fresh air coming in, it gets burned in the combustion chamber and goes to the outside. So we can't even get combustion spillage on this on the basis that it's a fully closed combustion chamber. I strongly recommend anybody installing a high efficiency furnace, ask your contractor to do a 2-pipe system and not draw combustion air from the space. There used to be a combustion air duct in this room. That's been taken out because it's not necessary on the basis that we're pulling air from outside. And we also have the same thing on our hot water tank. We will talk about that as a separate video. A couple other things I'll point out while we're here. If you look carefully here, we have on the side of the furnace, we actually have an EnerGuide rating. This was done a while back. The original, this house here originally had an EnerGuide consumption of about 190 gigajoules per year. It was changed with the hot water tank and the furnace to 155. A typical new home, about 129. So this house hasn't yet had an upgraded label. This is your ERS version 15. If you want to know more about these, watch some of our other videos. And also go and have a look at the EnerGuide rating system or energyexperts.ca. So that's where you'll find information. So let's quickly look at what's going on in this furnace, and then we'll talk about furnace sizing. So as I said, we've got fresh air intake coming in. That's the black pipe. The white pipe, that's the vent to outside. It is a sealed system. This one is a Carrier Furnace 58 TP6A. The BTU input is 114 and the output is 111,150. So it's a single furnace, one house. As you can see, the input and output, not a huge difference. This is a 96% efficient furnace. In other words, only 4% is actually going out of the chimney. The rest of it is staying in the home as a heat source. The other thing you can see that the contractor did on this install, you can see all the ductwork joints have been sealed as much as possible, even though this is an older home. That's over here we have our humidifier. Yes, homes in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and other areas with good ventilation, you will need a humidifier, and make sure it's well controlled. That on the left hand side is the humidification control, or humidistat, and that should be adjusted based on ambient temperature. One way to even do that better, have your contractor make sure that that's wired to something like an Ecobee thermostat. That's what I have in my house. That's what I love. Ecobee does a great job on their thermostats, and they will change the humidity automatically. It's called an ambient reset humidistat. It gets wired to the humidistat. Mine hasn't, because I haven't had the chance to do that yet, but that is something I would strongly recommend. But putting on the return is not a bad way to go, because it gives you a bit of an average humidity of the home. And again, that should be adjusted. So there's our furnace. Just go a few more things on this one here. You don't normally have to know a lot about them, but here on the right hand side, that's your filter. That needs to be maintained and looked after, and make sure that that's clean so you get the fresh air coming through. This is a 2-stage furnace. So let's have a bit of a conversation about furnace sizing, and also about selecting a furnace. So what we want to chat a little bit about here is about furnaces, right? We've had a look at how this furnace is installed, what type of furnace we have. It's a high efficiency 2-stage. So when you're going to buy a furnace, bar none in Alberta, one of the best upgrades you can make to a house is installing a new furnace. I strongly recommend people be proactive. Don't wait until your furnace breaks down before you replace your furnace. Go out, get some quotes. I always recommend getting at least 3 quotes, but get some quotes, find out which brand, which company you want to work with, and then start saying the features that you want. What is important to you when you're selecting a furnace? So one of the very first things let's start with is what we call furnace sizing. So when we talk about furnace sizing, what we're saying is how much energy is lost from the house when it's minus 30 degrees outside, which is typically the design temperature for Calgary. Maybe it's minus 32 in Edmonton. There's a special number that's used from the building code. It's called the design outdoor temperature. So it's not the coldest day of the year. It's the temperature we would mostly see 97.5% of the time. So that's how a heating system is sized. You say, how much energy do we need to put into the house when it's, let's say, minus 30 degrees, let's say for Calgary, how much energy do we need to put in to match the energy that's leaving? So a well-sized furnace means you're not going to pay too much for the furnace being too big. It's not going to short cycle. It's going to be running almost continuously when it's cold outside. That's normal. So if your furnace runs, you're holding the temperature, and your furnace runs for long periods of time when it's really cold outside, you should actually phone up your heating contractor and congratulate him on sizing the furnace correctly. If it's short cycling on and off, the furnace is likely oversized. Typically in history, furnaces have been oversized, so if you're looking at a replacement, talk to your contractor about doing the correct heat loss calculation and ensuring the furnace is correctly sized, which will make it more comfortable, it'll be more efficient, and you'll get the right size furnace. So a heat loss calculation, which is what we call CSA F280, yes, you can contact us at energyexperts.ca and we can help you with that. If you do an ERS, Energuide rating system, through the Greener Home program, there is a heat loss in there. That is still the responsibility of the heating contractor to size it, but it will give you a guide on sizing of a furnace. So now that you've got your size, you know how big it is, and that's BTU per hour, you want to think about some of the other features, right? What you want: single stage, 2-stage, or variable capacity. Single stage is like having an on-off switch and only an on-off switch. What you really want is a minimum of a 2-stage, and maybe even thinking about going to a variable capacity furnace. So that means as it gets a little bit warmer outside, either it'll ramp up or ramp down as it gets colder. It'll adjust the amount of heat coming into the home based on the temperature outside or based on the demand. So a 2-stage will be like a small furnace and a big furnace built into one. So when it's cool outside but not really cold, it's going to run mostly on the small stage. That means it'll run for longer, more continuous periods of time rather than being an on-off cycle. You do want more continuous, so you get a more even temperature in your home. So that's really, really important. I think at minimum you should be a 2-stage, but I do strongly recommend going to even a variable capacity. What brand you go to, I don't really have strong affiliations to any one brand or the other. I have Carrier in this house that I've known for years and years in my industry. They're a great company, but you've got Lennox, you've got Bryant, you've got Train. All the manufacturers make some great products. So talk to your contractor, find somebody you're happy to work with. The next thing you want to make sure of is you want it with a variable speed fan or an ECM motor. Why? Because you want to be able to run that furnace fan on a continuous basis to even out the temperature, better filtration, better humidity control, but you don't want it to be loud and noisy, and you don't want to get those drafts. Please go and have a look at our Hoimi damper video that we talk about how you minimize those drafts or cold air coming in and improve efficiency. Again, go to look at the Hoimi damper discussion and how you can get those installed. Again, talk to your heating contractor about that. We will talk about heat pumps in another video, so if anybody's got interested in heat pumps, let's look at those from a different perspective later. So select a company you want to work with. Make sure you get a proper heat loss calculation. It's called a CSA F280. Make sure that I do strongly recommend that it's a 2-pipe install. Ask your contractor to make sure it's a 2-pipe if at all possible. Brings in combustion air, gets burnt in the heat exchanger, and then goes straight to outside. It's safer for you, it's safer for your family, and it's a really, really good install. Might make it a little difficult to do the install, but there's always ways to do it. But talk to your heating contractor. Sometimes it may make sense to change the domestic hot water at the same time as well. But have a look, chat to your heating contractor, and he can help you with the installation of that. So 2-stage variable capacity ECM motor. Make sure it's all wired. Even the fan is wired to the thermostat. I'm a big fan of those Ecobee thermostats. You hear me talk about them over and over and over again. And why do I like my Ecobee so much? I got one furnace I've got in the house, but I got a thermostat that sits in the middle of the home on the main level. But I've got these little sensors that go around the home that help us to even out the temperature. So hopefully that helps you on selecting a furnace. Make sure it gets correctly sized. And I'm gonna actually go and grab, while we're here, let's go and grab one of those sensors so you can see what I'm talking about. And I'll show you the Ecobee thermostat. So this is the center of the home. There is the Ecobee thermostat. You can see on the wall here. And then this is attached to multiple sensors throughout the house. And therefore what I do, this is a 2-stage home. What I do with that is, here's my little sensor. There's the sensor that I'm referring to. This is in my kitchen living room area. What I do is I have them upstairs, I have them downstairs, and I can set different schedules, I can average. So think about getting an Ecobee thermostat and try and make sure that you have it well controlled. Set your schedules, get to understand the schedules. So if you have any questions, send us an email. Go to energyexperts.ca. As I said earlier on, even though there's no grants, it is one of the best upgrades you can do for energy efficiency in Alberta. And I strongly recommend, if your furnace is around 20 years old or older, seriously think about changing their furnace. Don't forget to go and like us, but also go and have a look at the Hoimi damper conversation that we had. The other thing I just want to touch on before I leave, we'll have a different video on this one when it comes to air balancing. If you've got cold rooms, warm rooms in your house, different things like that, this isn't a function of a bad furnace or a good furnace. This is a function of air balancing. I'll do a separate video later on how you air balance and how you can even out those temperatures. But one of the best ways to start with is the right controls, i.e. the Ecobee. The other one is to run that furnace fan more or less continuously, or at least on a schedule. That's going to help you. And if you look around from my house here, you can see we came from a walkout basement. We've got an upstairs. This is one zone, one furnace, one thermostat. And with those controls, we have a much better way of controlling the temperature. So thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in one of the other videos. Visit us at energyexperts.ca. If you're looking for an energy assessment that can help you with a lot of this, go again to energyexperts.ca. Visit some of the other companies, which is Acacia Engineering, mechanical engineering that does full design for new homes and does a lot of these design calculations for our customers. Or if you've got building envelope concerns with moisture, humidity, designing the building envelope, that's our brand called Qualistat, and they've got a ton of videos there to help you with. So go and visit us, and hopefully we'll see you there. My name's Stephen, thanks for visiting us, and we'll chat to you soon.